Well, hello neighbors. Welcome to my kitchen table. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and I am shooting another entrance or 12-year-old Scotch review. This might be my last in a little while, but today we're going to look at the Glenlivet 12-year-old. Thanks for staying with me. As I said in the intro, this is another very accessible, easy to find Scotch. I've been trying to drink through or review through some of my open bottles that I have of this kind of, core range or entrance range Scotches. And the weather, as you can see, the sun's coming in. The weather's really turned, and I tend to drift off Scotch, at least for a few months, and go into American whiskeys or Canadian. So this might be my last Scotch for just a little while, my last Scotch review. So, if you don't know the Glenlivet, I'm not sure who you are. This is one of the largest producers of single malt Scotch in the world. It should be a pretty recognizable box or bottle, and if you haven't tried it and you like Highland Scotches, I would suggest that you maybe give it a chance. So what can I tell you about Glenlivet? Not much. I know they love to tell a story, and if you haven't heard it, it's an easy thing to find online. That George Smith used to carry around a couple of flintlock pistols, and he warded off some whiskey bandits, I think, way back in the day. So that's a piece of their lore. I thought their bottle actually had a couple of flintlocks on it. Now I don't see it, so that's kind of funny. And I think there was also King George IV in the 1800s when he came for a visit, I think asked for a taste of Glenlivet even when it was still an illegal dram. You should look up the history. I'm not really prepared for history. This one's really just about the liquid here. So as I said, this is a 12-year-old. It doesn't say, but it certainly could be Speyside or Highland legally on the bottle. It doesn't tell you that. But it's 12 years old. It's aged 40%. It's going to be some ex-bourbon, some ex-sherry. I don't know the ratio of that. Someone who has better insight maybe could tell you. But it is a very high volume single malt, which means you can often get it at a really great price. In Canada, it sits around $45, and I got this for less because I tend to be a bit of a whiskey bargainer, or whiskey hound. But let's talk about the Scotch. So let's see what the nose is like. For me, the nose, fairly gentle. I'm graded with an interplay between, I would say, orchard fruits and some vanillas. Not quite creamy, but I would say that those two characteristics, the fruit and the sweetness, the vanilla, almost a caramel note, it's fairly well put together. It doesn't linger long. You take, like when I'm in it, I can enjoy it or think about it. As soon as I drift off, it clears out pretty quick. Let's see what it tastes like. Sláinte. So the palate, I think actually first goes into that vanilla, that sweet and kind of caramel, and then comes back to the fruit, and then swings over into something like a seasoned oak. By that I mean it's not really woody. It's not sawdusty, cut woody, that kind of stuff. But the oak is pretty present pretty quickly. I'm gonna give it another quick taste. Yeah, and there's a little bit of a spice edge to it. I wouldn't call this whiskey or this Scotch spicy. but it has enough flavor in it that if you stay with it or have, that second or that third sip, you're kind of sipping it into an evening, I would say it starts to pick up a deeper, kind of older baking spice to it. Not peppery, not like zesty, but something that you would find in a baking, in a pie or something like that. Finish is a little tannic, a little bitter, maybe a hint of smoke, but not really. So this Scotch for me stays exactly in the range we've been talking the last few weeks, right? This is good for the price range. It's a decent quality Scotch, nice 12-year-old single malt, but it doesn't pop in any one of its notes. It stays as sort of, if you've never had Scotch and you want to know what Scotch tastes like, this would represent a class of whiskey quite well. But because of some of the bitterness, the tannic notes on the end, and because of some of the well complemented, well blended taste up front, it just doesn't excite enough to say, you've got to run out and have this. So, it sits around that 3-star mark, maybe 3.5 for me. I'm going to do a quick taste comparison on seeing, how does Glenlivet stack up to Glenfiddich, because I've done that for a few times in this review series. And since this has become my new kind of palate cleanser, that's not quite right, palate, what do you call it when you realign your palate, the Glenfiddich? Let's try it again here. This nose is a little more lemony or citrus, but has all very similar notes. Orchard fruits, vanillas, less caramel or caramel. Give it a quick taste. And I would suggest that the fruits, citrus notes perk up just a little more in the Glenfiddich than the Glenlivet. That said, one of the things I wanted to say about Glenlivet early on is that if I've had a pour and then another pour, this one fades into a little more of a caramel, relaxed, smoother, easier drinking Scotch. Glenfiddich has, I think, a little brighter, livelier flavors, and so I tend to like that more, except if I'm looking for just a very gentle, relaxed, very easy drinking Scotch, which is not usually what I'm going for, but I find the Glenlivet almost a smoother, not quite sweeter, but more even drinking Scotch, if that makes sense. So that's how I'd compare these two. As I said in the intro, it's been fun to go through bottles that I have open already. I think that's very important for all of us. And also, I wanted to share bottles. As my channel, I wanted to speak to what are good whiskeys, but something that I can afford. Of course, sometimes I'm going to have a gift from someone special, or I'm going to have a unique expression I just had to chase down, or I saw it on a fantastic price. So sometimes I'm going to spike up into that really, really great stuff. But what my main goal has always been is to find a delicious, enjoyable drink, a variety of different styles of whiskey, but something that you could afford and not feel really guilty about buying or about enjoying yourself and friends. Thanks for being at my table. Hopefully next time we'll be in something, maybe a Canadian or an American whiskey. You guys take care.